brand new episode of the Bleav in Carolina Panthers podcast. I'm your host, Desmond Johnson, joined by Sports Illustrated Panthers beat writer Schuyler Callihan. Jonathan Stewart, all-time Panthers leading rusher, usually the third part of our group, is still out this week. He is celebrating his wedding anniversary this week, so he will be back with us on Monday. A lot to get through. We've been off for a while. Sorry I'm out of breath because I just ran across the whole house to get my phone and then ran all the way back across before the theme music ended. So it was a race against time. So I'm just like trying to catch my breath.
I'm the same way in this non-heated basement of Bank of America Stadium. By the way,
what bunker are you in right now?
Yeah, you gotta love the background, right? These beautifully gray painted walls. I mean, it's fantastic.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's Thursday, so on Thursdays on the Bleav in Panthers podcast, we do one thing that everybody knows about.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you why we messing.
We'll find something that we're angry about from the past week. We've had some time to stew on it because we haven't played a game since last Thursday. The Panthers playing against the Baltimore Ravens this Sunday at 1 p.m. Lamar Jackson facing off against him. We'll give you our predictions and previews on how that game might go. It's Thursday, so it's open mailbag. If you are watching or listening to this right now as we have it going on, you can ask us a question. Myself or Schuyler will attempt to answer it to the best of our abilities. If it's a Panthers-related question, definitely chime in there. We've had a lot of people doing that throughout the past couple of weeks as we've introduced that. And we'll also get into an injury report also and get you ready for this. Carolina Panthers, 2 games out of first place mid-November, 3-7 on the season. So go figure. Any other time we'd be, going over, CJ Stroud versus Bryce Young or, things of that nature. And
I mean, it still exists to an extent.
It's weird. It's like this parallel conversation going on where people are like, oh, that win cost us the 4th pick of the draft or whatever. I don't want the kid from Kentucky. But then it's like, well, we're 2 games out of first, and the team that's in first place, we beat down like a couple of weeks ago. So it's like, I'm not turning my mentality over to off season and before Thanksgiving when we're still kind of in the hunt.
I mean, let's be real. Like, yes, the Panthers have been bad this year, especially at times. But is there a team that's going to be worse or finish worse than the Houston Texans? Because I don't think so. And if that's what you're really worried about is that number 1 pick, you ain't getting it as long as Houston keeps playing the way they've been playing.
The Panthers' defense is too good to bottom out completely to be the number 1 pick. And I know they're not like top 10 right now. They've been gashed actually the past couple of weeks. But I should say there's probably too much talent on the overall roster to get the number 1 pick.
And my opinion about it. I'm not as high on this quarterback class as everybody else is. I don't think Anthony Richardson's all that. I don't think CJ Stroud's all that. Bryce Young is good. Is he going to be great? I don't really think so. I mean, I could be wrong. Will Levis I'd never like. So, I mean, it's really just Bryce Young and maybe a couple guys that you may get lucky on. But, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not too high on it either. Maybe it's because I'm not a big college football guy. Usually on Saturdays I'm working or something, so I don't get a chance to really sit there and watch a lot of college football. I get in and out. People know I'm a Carolina fan, obviously, so I try to watch the Tar Heels when I can, but I keep them at arm's length because usually when I start to fall in love with that Carolina football team, something really bad happens and pushes me just further away from it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not too much in love with this quarterback class either. I don't see why so many people are high on it. I do like Anthony Richardson from Florida, and I feel like he is someone that Panthers should get mid-first round. Like, that's not a guy you need a top 5 pick for, I don't think. But
I mean, the raw talent for him is there. Like, he's got all the tools. The problem with him is just inconsistency. Like, 1 week he looks like he could maybe be the next iteration of Cam Newton. And the next week he looks like, I mean, just be straight up with you, he looks like garbage sometimes. So like he's just got to put good games together for him to get that draft status. But some teams, some organizations are going to fall in love with him just because of the physical traits that he has. And that's probably why he's going to get higher than he should. I would have a day 2 grade on him. That's just me.
Yeah. So and plus don't forget, we did trade up for a quarterback last year that we have not seen, in live action. Yeah, that we won't see. So, I mean, he's going to be here. He's going to be the only quarterback on the roster as it stands right now because all these other guys their contracts are done. And I don't think they're bringing P.J. Walker back or we'll find out with Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold because they're probably going to both see the field this Sunday, and we'll get into that in just a bit. Before we get into all of that, though, almost forgot. I have a read. I have a read that I do every week, and for some reason I just completely forgot to do it here. Bet Online from our friends over at betonline.ag. Bet Online's the fastest and easiest way to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, and events with first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports information, from live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to join today and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code Bleav, BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. And where we usually start on Thursdays is our Tell Them Why You're Mad segment.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you why we mad, son. I'm going to tell you why we mad, son.
And I'll let you go first, Schuyler, because our only rule is that it just has to be football related. It doesn't have to be Panther related, just something football related. And I know you as well as being the beat writer for the Panthers for Sports Illustrated, you're also the beat writer for the Charlotte Hornets, beat writer for West Virginia Athletics. So I'm sure you've got a number of things you could probably thumb through.
I could go a whole hour on this, but we're going to go take a little walk, and I'm going to show you one of the things I'm mad at while I'm talking about that first one, or here in a second. The first one is,
I'm going to tell you why we mad, son. I'm going to tell you why we mad, son.
Spicy.
We need to get some heat in this dang place. That's the first thing. Okay, I mean it's
cold,
just,
man. They don't have a warm up
one
in
of the one of the richest owners in the NFL, and not really much heat going on down here. But anyways, here's the other thing I'm mad about. Okay, we're gonna take this little stroll right here down to the tunnel. Okay, this stuff right here.
Ooh, that was mine too. Great, I'm here for this. Let's go. Let's go.
What is that?
So for those that don't know,
why is it still there?
There's turf on the ground, and like that was actually mine too. So we'll just tag team this one here.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you why we mad, son. I'm gonna tell you why we mad, son.
We have had 3 quarterback injuries, high ankle sprains on this turf this year. Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Matt Corral, actually 4, and now PJ Walker. So all 4 of the quarterbacks on this roster have had high injury ankle sprains.
Corral's injury was in New England, but yeah, 3 of the 4, and then Dante Jackson with his Achilles last week. So I don't know if that played a factor. Obviously Christian's had his fair share of injuries when he was here. So yeah, I mean, all the owners that want to keep turf, they always point to all these studies that are done, and kind of like Baker said yesterday, and I agree with him. Like, what are these studies actually showing? Because, like, yes, the actual injury that occurs on the field may be the same as it is on grass, but it's the wear and tear that eventually leads to those injuries. You know what I mean? Like, those aren't going to show up in those studies, and it's like, as he said, it's common sense. Like, when you're playing on turf, it's a harder surface. It's going to hurt your knees, your ankles, stuff like that much harder, your hip, a lot worse than natural soft grass.
The only reason why they put it in there is because Tepper wanted to start doing more like outdoor events, like concerts and stuff, right? He just didn't want to wear the grass.
And having the soccer team also allows it to be a better playing surface, because if you're going to have 2 teams share the same field, it's going to be a mud pit by week 5. Like, so I get that to an extent, but at a certain point, you got to look at, like, okay, is this really what is going to get the best production out of our players long term? Is this what's going to keep our players healthy long term?
What do you
think? If that's not the case, then what are we doing? Like, if you want to bring in concerts, if you want to bring in all these other events, then why not purchase some land? I mean, he's got the money to do it. He purchase some land and make some like of an entertainment district right outside of this, the stadium or something, to where you have something like that.
There's literally land right at the North Carolina South Carolines, that area right there by Carolines on 77, where there's still undeveloped land sitting right there that somebody could just come in and build literally some sort of entertainment venue. Hell, you just bought. Does he still own the property in Rock Hill?
Yes, he still does.
Well, there you go.
the from what I was told, and I spoke to some of the people down in the government there back in like July or so, is that it's still his property. He has, the rights to it. Anything that happens on that property will be his call. So, if someone wants to put in shopping plaza or hotels or whatever, like he's going to have the final say on what they do with it. But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's going to end up being a Spirit Halloween store. I mean, we always know.
Yeah.
or
The
dollar store.
I was gonna say the largest Dollar Tree in America, owned by David Tepper's, can be right there off of 77. And plus, they had the government build the infrastructure to get on and off the highway, right? So something is going to go there eventually.
Yeah, that's already been from what I know. That's already taken care of. Like it's already done.
I did not expect the players to be as vocal about the turf in season. I guess I thought maybe that was a question they'd stay away from. But after you start seeing your guys going down over, just keep continuously getting shot by the turf, someone had to step up and say stuff. And I think Shaq Thompson has said some things. I think DJ Moore said some things.
Yeah, we talked to DJ at length about it. I think it was Monday. And he said that the players talked to Tepper about this stuff a couple of times this year, probably most recently going back to training camp. And, he told them that, they prefer grass over turf, but that's not obviously, stirred any conversations up really past that. So
they didn't get any reaction from Tepper on that in terms of,
he really didn't go into detail because when we asked about what the, like if he was going to circle back to it or anything, he just kind of said, we left it there on the table. We had a couple conversations and it was kind of, you couldn't really tell whether or not that anything was going to be done about it. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna. The turf one was mine, but I'm gonna switch it to something else. For Tell Them Why You're Mad Thursday.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you why we mad, son. I'm gonna tell you why we mad, son.
I have a bone to pick with national media for one thing and one thing only, and it's the way they're treating the Green Bay Packers. I watched that game, Packers Cowboys. Good game. Packers pulled it away. Cowboys probably should have won that game. I don't know how they lost a 14-point lead with like 3 minutes left or whatever it was, but all of a sudden now I'm seeing, the Pack is back, or can the Pack make a run, or talking about
benching Aaron Rodgers. I mean, come on.
It was just 7 days ago, and I'm sitting here looking at it like, well, I don't know, maybe they could. I mosey over to the NFC standings. The Green Bay Packers are 3-7. They are the same exact record as our Carolina Panthers. Yet the Green Bay Packers, who just a week ago were left for dead, had no receivers. The offensive line couldn't block. Aaron Rodgers was talking about himself in interviews, and it was all falling apart. They beat the mighty Dallas Cowboys on primetime TV. I mean, that game went to like 8 o'clock because it went into overtime. So I'm sure millions watched the end of it. And now all of a sudden, all the talking heads are like, well, maybe Green Bay can make a run. Maybe Green Bay can get in or whatever. That infuriates me because I'm like, what is the difference between Green Bay and Carolina other than Aaron Rodgers at quarterback? They've got a quarterback, but he hasn't thrown for 300 yards this entire year. Like, this might be one of the worst years statistically of Aaron Rodgers' career. Yet all of a sudden, the Pack is back. Watch out for Green Bay. Never mind. Don't worry about that Minnesota team that's 8-1 at the top of the division, or don't worry about the fact that the entire NFC East is qualifying for the playoffs at the moment. Forget all that. The Packers are 3-7, but they still got a shot. And I'm sitting here looking at Carolina at 3-7, and they're like, they've buried us. Like we talk about us like we're just like we shouldn't even be playing NFL football. We're a forgotten afterthought. And that's something that frustrated me this week.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you why we mad, son. I'm gonna tell you why we mad, son.
Well, I mean, when you have Aaron Rodgers, I mean, that's probably going to do it.
I get it. Yeah, I know.
Go ahead and hit that one more time for me. I got one more thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you why we mad, son. I'm gonna tell you why we mad, son.
Get it in.
So why is it that we're in now? What week? I don't even know. What week are we in? I don't even know.
We haven't had our bye yet.
11.
So 11. Yeah, week 11.
We're in week 11, and today, I gotta say this quietly. Well, they're at practice. Why did Ben McAdoo just now figure out the team's identity offensively? He admitted. Well, he didn't admit it, but he said today that like, hey, we found our identity. Took you 11 weeks.
We saw what it should have been week 1.
Exactly. The identity of this team should have been to run the damn football. since the very start of the season. When you have that offensive line that can get downhill in a hurry,
Bozeman wasn't playing.
And you had, at the time, Christian McCaffrey. You had Deontay Foreman, who at the time wasn't getting touches.
He got 7 carries.
I mean,
while Matt Rule was here this year. 7. Over what, 5 games?
and the thing that's even more like kind of mind-boggling is that like you acquired a quarterback in July that was going to start for you in week 1. Why wouldn't you lean on the run game until he figures things out and when he understands the offense and feels comfortable with it enough? Like, I don't know.
These are great questions. These are fantastic questions. I think I read an article on Steve Wilks this week. May have been on ESPN. Might have been David Newton. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But it was talking about how the reason why he let Phil Snow go was so he could promote Al Holcomb to defensive coordinator, so he could actually, he being Steve Wilks, spend more time in the offensive room and actually get that identity straight, because Wilks understood correctly that his defensive schemes weren't going to work unless they were playing complementary football. And the only way to do that is to get the offense in tune with what he wants them to do. And he went in there and was like, yo, we're going to run the football, like literally. And we've gone from averaging like 20 carries a game under Matt Rule to like 29 carries a game.
I mean, last Thursday, they only ran the ball 47 times, but Ben said they called 54 run plays.
Some of those penalties, pre-snap penalties or something, I would imagine, or they audibled out or whatever it might have been. But yeah, I mean, there's a dedication to running the football now that I love. With the running backs and the line we have, it just makes sense. The thing I'm worried about with Ben McAdoo this week, because I saw it a little bit when Baker came in that Bengals game, he went right back to RPO. And I don't understand why. Like, they had him in that shotgun pistol formation, handoff, read, go, whatever. Baker Mayfield is not a threat in RPO. Please stop. You know what?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you why we mad.
Baker Mayfield cannot run the football. Like, stop running him in RPO. Like, you already saw what works. Now, why don't you put Baker in the offense you built for PJ? And now you can do play action and take shots downfield, because that is Baker Mayfield's game. Another thing too. How many tip passes have we seen since Baker Mayfield hurt his foot? 0? 1, maybe?
Maybe 1 or 2. I don't remember it being as big of a problem.
That makes me feel like Baker was tipping off defensive line somehow with something. Like, they knew something to put their hands up with Baker Mayfield. So hopefully that goes away.
And remember when I talked to PJ, I want to say it was way early in the season when this was kind of an issue. And he kind of mentioned something about it. And I think I talked about it on here, something about when he goes to throw, he kind of pats the ball real quick. Yeah. And I don't know if that does tip the defense off, but obviously something is.
He's given away some tell sign, and we'll see. That's something to look at this Sunday. But a lot of you guys forgot about all that because we ain't seen Baker in a couple of weeks. But that's what we're here for. We're here to give you the stuff to look for on Sundays. Panthers versus Ravens, 1 p.m. I Bleav it's on Fox. Let me check that before we get off of here. Cody Lashney, thanks for watching and listening, buddy. He says, I'd let Anthony Richardson and Matt Corral battle it out in training camp. That might be the way they go. I know there's some veterans that are going to be out free agent wise. I still said, hey, give Lamar Jackson $350 million and see what happens. But I don't think he's going to leave.
My thing is, again, I don't know if you want to keep infusing more younger talent into that quarterback room just yet, unless you're getting the number 1 pick, then obviously that's fine. But I think you got to see what you have in Matt Corral, and I'm not saying he's going to start next year, but again, like I said, I think last week, sign Jimmy G. He's not there. San Francisco is not going to bring him back. That is very clear at this point. Like, they want to move forward with Trey Lance when he's healthy. So if Jimmy G's out there and he's not going to ask for a ton of money, why not? Why not for a year?
Right in there, yeah. I mean, the offense, the roster feels like if you put a rookie in there at this point, you're going to wait a year or 2 for him to catch up to everything else you got going on. But the way you've got it situated, you just need a game manager back there, really.
A lot of it too is whoever they hire as the head coach, obviously.
Right.
So if that's a guy that is going to lean on the run game that might benefit a certain, benefit bringing a certain quarterback in or not. I mean, it could be a whole different dynamic by the time we get to OTAs next year. So, like, it's so hard to tell.
Yeah, so we got a little ways to go. So everybody just kind of chill out on that. We got a game Sunday. We're 2 games out of first place. This team, how crazy would it be if this Panthers team somehow is a wild card in the playoffs? Like, 2 months from now, we're sitting there talking early January about how the Panthers are going to end up having to play the Vikings or something on the road in a wild card playoff game or whatever. So who knows? Brad Tippett, great question here from Brad. Do you think the Week 13 bye 3 years in a row has had anything to do with the ACC championship at Bank of America Stadium? Seems like the Panthers are getting screwed from the NCAA. That is a great question, and that's probably right. That's probably exactly why they're getting that bye that week.
Well, they can't play here. It's not necessarily true. It in a way it lines up. I would have to get confirmation on it, but like it's not like they can't turn it around and play the very next day. So I don't think that's completely the issue. I think some of it could be logistically, getting the trucks in here for Sunday, for the Sunday night game, or the Sunday afternoon game compared to Saturday night. You're going to have a lot of people coming in and out. As far as the playing surfaces I think they've already proven that this year, where they played a soccer game, the day before, had the Panthers game the next day. So like they can fix all that stuff quickly. I think it's more logistically with getting the broadcast trucks in here and everything. But
that would make a lot of sense. And then possibly too, hotels, things of that sort. You're thinking about all that stuff too. If the Panthers are on a home game, you got people coming into town, all that good stuff. That could possibly be, but I do agree that bye is way too late. Week 13, normally I wouldn't care if it was that late or not. I'd rather it be towards the middle of the year somewhere, like week 8, week 9. But I didn't realize we'd had it for 3 years in a row. That's kind of wild there. Donald Duck, who was on with us last time we were here, I think we should pass on CJ and Bryce and draft Will Anderson Jr., give Golden Corral a shot. If he doesn't work out, look up Drake May, UNC quarterback. I'm telling you, his highlight tape pops. Donald, you ain't got to tell me about Drake May. I already know about Drake. Matter of fact, I've already pushed the thought of Drake May in a Panther uniform out of my mind, because he's going to be the number 1 pick in the draft next year, probably, if he comes out. Hell, he might win the Heisman this year. That buzz is starting to build a little bit for him. His numbers pretty damn good, which is weird to say for North Carolina quarterback. But Drake's the real deal. Played high school football here in North Carolina, so I've been aware of him for a while. He checks all the boxes, but we aren't going to get him. So I've already, my mind won't even allow me to think of it. So
I mean, that's so far down the road. I mean, he's still got 2 more years. Before he's even draft eligible. So, or actually, no. I take that back. I think he's eligible next year because he redshirted last year, right?
I think that's right. Yeah. So he can
play
sophomore year and then go. Kind of like Bryce Young this year at Alabama, I believe. I think he's got a similar situation. We were talking about Baker Mayfield and what sign he's given away to these defensive linemen. Jack Dixon says, "I'll tell you the sign. He's 5'4". I've watched smaller quarterbacks. Drew Brees was a small quarterback. He hardly ever got it knocked down. And Baker doesn't roll out a lot either. So maybe that's it.
Kyler Murray's short guy, and he has batted ball issues, but it's not nearly as much as what
they bootleg him out a lot too. They get him to the left or the right.
He's more mobile, and he's able to move around the pocket a lot better too. And I think it's not always just tipping them off, like with the potentially patting the ball, but it's also your hips too and your shoulders. If you go back and watch some of those tip balls, I guarantee you some of those plays where the ball got knocked down at the line of scrimmage, look at Baker's hips and shoulders. If some of that is slanted towards a certain way, or it's hard to really break down and dummy down. But if you just go back and watch it, I'll have to see if I can pull up some of the clips. Maybe I can break it down a little bit better.
Thomas Hayes chimes in. It's open mailbag Thursday, like it is every Thursday here on Bleav in Carolina Panthers. Thomas Hayes comments, at the end of the game Sunday, Tepper needs to walk up to Lamar and whisper, "We got you, $300 million in Carolina." I mean, what would you? Let's say, okay, all right, let's do this. Let's play billionaire. If you were David Tepper, and you had an opportunity to offer a contract to Lamar Jackson, who would be an unrestricted free agent at the end of this year, what would you offer him?
Nothing.
Okay.
Like, yes, he's a tremendous talent, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, no doubt, right? But you see it so often where these guys, like, they get paid so much and they never live up to what that paycheck's worth.
We're sitting there waiting on Deshaun Watson to debut here, right?
And not only that, but if you commit so much money to the quarterback position, you're going to handcuff yourself in the rest of the roster. And you're in a market that you can't really afford to do that. So, I mean, I think you got to continue to build the roster and spend that money on pass rushers, on the offensive line, the defensive line, cornerbacks, some of those spots that maybe other teams don't put as much money into, and then kind of go lowball on the quarterbacks.
And that's why we don't like doing draft talk before Thanksgiving, because, again, we don't know who the coach is going to be. So it's impossible for us to know which way they want to go with whatever pick they end up with. Yeah. When we don't know, who the coach is going to be. We're rooting for Steve Wilks, and I'm hoping, Steve, he's 2-3 so far in his tenure as interim head coach. Tepper was kind of on record at the beginning saying he'd have to, be really, really well to get considered for this spot. I know he's not probably in the lead, but, winning the conference or winning the division and some games would go a long way. And the players have started to voice support for him vocally, publicly. I've noticed this week too. There was something else I'd read where one of the Panther players was saying, Steve Wilks, he gets it. He's one of us. They're starting to, root for him, play for him. And that's pretty good considering this locker room. There's a lot of guys apparently that were still loyal to Matt Rule when Matt Rule got let go. He hadn't had the locker room completely turn on him when he got fired. So that's pretty
I did see Brad's comment here at the bottom. It says that Fitter and Tepper won't pass up a franchise quarterback in the next draft.
Mm-hmm.
They can. They certainly can. And I'm telling you right. I'm telling exactly. I'm telling you right now. If if that situation that we brought up a few weeks back pops up, where Will Anderson is sitting there and the top two quarterbacks are off the board, are you gonna be willing to roll the dice on maybe Will Levis or Anthony Richardson, a guy that's not a known proven guy, over Will Anderson?
I'm falling out of love for Will Levis.
I'm not doing that.
I was hot on Levis for about a week. Shout out to the 4-Man Rush. They do a lot of Carolina Panther analysis. You can find them online on Twitter. I'm friends with those guys. Kevin Avery comes on my Saturday morning show a lot, and they were showing a video of Will Levis, like I guess in a training video or something, just like with this quick release or whatever, throwing it all over the place.
He flicks it.
Yeah, but he's had some bad games past couple of weeks, and I don't know if I trust a quarterback from Kentucky for some reason. Like, it just sounds weird.
Where you got against Kentucky?
Nothing against Kentucky. It's just Kentucky football. I'm just kind of like, I don't know if it's the same thing with Alabama quarterbacks. Actually, for me too, it's like
Ohio State.
I don't know. Yeah, Ohio State quarterbacks same way. So it's like I'm just not that big. Maybe it's because I haven't really seen them that much, but I'm not that big on this quarterback class. C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young.
I'm not either. It's better than last year. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But
if you had to do it over again, would you have picked Justin Fields now that we've seen more of him being used the way we probably would have used him? Or would you be happy with J.C. Horn, who is rated as one of the top cornerbacks in the league right now? Knowing the deficiency that we have as a team is at that quarterback position, if you could do it over.
Obviously, you would like to have it, but I mean, I don't blame them for taking J.C.
No.
I mean,
honestly, I think it was a good pick.
Yeah, I mean, and who's to say that this thing with Justin Fields is not just maybe lightning in a bottle, and it fizzles out? Like, that's very possible. I mean, do you really trust the Chicago Bears to build a winner around him? I mean,
absolutely not.
I don't.
No, name another successful quarterback for the Bears.
We talked about this off air one time, and
we did.
Oh my gosh! You see, who have they had a quarterback over the years? They've had Jay Cutler, Rex Grossman. Nick Foles. God almighty, who was there before Foles?
You got to go back to like Jim McMahon.
Trubisky was.
Oh yeah, Trubisky was. They traded up to number 2 for him. I've always said Chicago is where quarterback careers go to die. It just is. And Fields is trying to do a little something different. I said the only one I could think of is Jim McMahon, and then what was it right after him? Mike Tomczak. I think Doug Flutie, like that whole area right there, the 80s, led by McMahon. And even then, McMahon's stretch was like a 2-3 year pocket, like 84, 85, 86, and then he kept getting hurt and having concussions and whatnot. But yeah, Chicago quarterbacks, they just don't pan out usually when they get up there, or they get up there and they fall apart completely.
I'll say this, though. Justin Fields is definitely the best talent they've had at that position in a very, very long time.
People forget.
The problem I have is, like, are they going to support him? Are they going to give him enough support to where he can actually do something there? Or is, like I said, is this just going to be like a 1 to 2 month thing where he looks like he's going to be a franchise type quarterback and never materializes?
They really should give him the Baltimore Ravens offense, like the playbook, because that's really the Ravens realize it's the same situation. The Ravens have realized what they had with Lamar Jackson and basically built the entire team around him. It's kind of going to be the same way with Justin Fields. And people forget, coming out of high school, Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence were the same class, and they were rated 1 and 1A, like literally coming out of high school. So, I mean, he's an exceptional talent. I just feel like he's going to get buried in Chicago eventually when they inevitably, switch coaches or whatever's going to happen. Jack Nixon, listening to the show and watching the show, Lamar Jackson's a world-class athlete and runner. He's a mid-quarterback. Sorry, not sorry. This leaks right. This is a perfect segue to get into our preview real quick before we get out of here. Panthers and Ravens Sunday. All these wins are must-win games for Carolina. Give me a key, Schuyler, as you scout this game. What's the main thing you think the Panthers need to do to get out of here with a win? As I pull up their stats here.
Well, Ben's got to stick to his identity that he just now found, first and foremost. And secondly, I just talked to Chris Tabor about this, and I know it's very kind of cliche that you want to win the field position battle, but I mean, this is a game where you give Baltimore any good field position, and they're going to either score 7 or they're going to score 3 because of Justin Tucker. That dude can kick from 70 yards.
Yeah.
So I think field position is going to be a huge part of this game. You've got to be able to pin them inside the 5, pin them inside the 10, make them go the length of the field. And I think, too, you got to be – with that, though, you got to be able to also roll the dice every now and then and go for it on 4th and 2, 4th and 1. But you got to do it in smart, areas of the game. You can't just do that carelessly, and then, again, you give them good field position. So I think field position, sticking to the run game, and then thirdly, it's obviously going to be about stopping their running game. I mean, they just play smash mouth football, and with Matt Ioannidis out, I mean that's going to leave a fairly thin interior defensive line for Carolina. So I don't know what they're going to do to try and stop the run game, but as long as it's not as bad as it was 2 weeks ago in Cincinnati, you should have a chance to win this one.
Yeah,
but Desmond, I'll say this: knowing these two teams, at least knowing Baltimore and how Carolina has played the last couple of weeks, this might be the fastest game we've seen all year, because that clock is going to be long.
Yeah, I was just thinking that because I call play-by-play for high school football on Friday nights here, and a lot of this season, the team I call for has had a running clock against whatever team they're playing because they're up by 42 plus points at halftime, and that's the rule here in North Carolina. And I realized a lot of times the games are so short because they're averaging like 290 yards or whatever on the ground rushing the football, and it keeps the clock running. The Ravens have the number 2 rushing attack in the entire league coming into this week. They're averaging 168 yards per game and about 5.5 yards per carry, which is also second in the league. The Panthers are allowing about 139 yards per game on the ground. So you're absolutely right. It's Carolina's ground game versus Baltimore's ground game and how they're going to defend that. I'm kind of worried a little bit about Lamar, which we all should be, because Lamar is like
Houdini in a helmet, as Al Holcomb calls it.
Houdini in a helmet. He's kind of what we would have wanted Cam to do early in his career, where Lamar seems to not take the big hit. He'll get out of bounds, he'll get down the ground or whatever. He won't lower his shoulder and truck a guy. He's not built that way. He's almost like a bigger RG3 to me. Like if RG3 had
I mean, to me, to be honest with you, he's like the more of a modern day Michael Vick.
That's a good way to put him, because with Vic, it was like Vic could have been even greater if he had spent time in the film room. He just got by on his athletic ability. Lamar, at least, is kind of, you see growth in his game. Now, Michael Vick never won MVP.
But to your point though, like Vic would still lower his shoulder if he had to. Like,
yeah.
Lamar's kind of, and
I
don't really know if he's going to be willing to do that.
Who would win a foot race between Michael Vick and Lamar Jackson? I think Mike Vick would.
I think everyone forgets how fast Michael Vick was.
Like I think they do. My mind just thought about it for a second. I was like, who would win that? I think Mike Vick would win that race. Like
it would be interesting.
That would be
very, very close.
I like Lamar. I've told this story before. I wanted the Panthers to draft Lamar Jackson in 2018. He was still on the board. He got drafted number 32 by Baltimore. We went like 3 or 4 picks ahead of that, and we picked DJ Moore instead. And looking back on it, if they drafted Lamar, Cam was still here. But as you know, Cam got hurt going into that year. Lamar would have basically taken over for Cam. Ron Rivera would probably still be here if those dominoes had fallen that way. Lamar Jackson would be quarterback. Christian McCaffrey was already here. You would have given him a running back coming in. Like the thought of having Lamar Jackson here, and they chose to go another way. They chose to finally get weapons for Cam Newton at the end of Cam Newton's career, basically in the drafts. Pretty much what happened with the Panthers. So, and yes, you, my boy, Mr. Jeff. I still have a copy of Madden 2004 with Mike Vick on the cover. Those commercials for the Michael Vick experience were crazy back in the day. Dude was a beast. Michael Vick might be Madden 2004 Mike Vick and Bo Jackson Tecmo Bowl may be the most impossible players in video game history, probably.
Madden 04 may have been the last time the game was good, so
I've heard that too. They broke the game with 04. Oh, I gotta throw in Steph Curry 2015, the year he was unanimous MVP. He was ridiculous, and was it NBA Live or whatever the EA game is for that. They had him basically like at 100 level for like everything. We could have, and Brad's going to remind us that we could have drafted Pat Mahomes in 2017 instead of CMC, but Pat, we would have messed up his career. Like he would not be Pat Mahomes that we know today.
If you go back to that draft though, when Kansas City moved up to traded up to get Pat Mahomes, everyone was like, "What the heck?" Like nobody really expected Pat Mahomes to go 10th overall. Like, I mean, he was great talent, obviously, but 10th overall at the time felt like it was a little high. Now looking back on it,
I didn't have a clue who he was.
Sure, probably went number 1.
But. Yeah. If they redid that draft over again, definitely. I'm just going through some of the things you need to know here for this game on Sunday. Carolina's running attack, it averages 118 yards per game now. That's in the middle of the league, about 16th. Deonta Foreman has 426 yards rushing. Chuba Hubbard has 111. The Ravens are pretty good against the run, though, so they're going to probably try to force Baker Mayfield to win this game. Here's something that you need to know, though. The Ravens are coming off of a bye. Under John Harbaugh, the Ravens are 11-3 in games immediately after a bye. That's the second best record among active coaches. So that
he knows how to coach.
Yeah, I mean, I've always admired John Harbaugh. I've always thought he's a really good coach. They're on the road. It's at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore. The spread right now, the Ravens are favored by 9.5. Really?
Yep.
That seems like a lot. Then again,
Vegas knows what they're doing.
Vegas knows what they're doing. They've been in business for this long for a reason. The Ravens have forced 1 turnover 11 consecutive games. That's the NFL's longest active streak. So definitely got to play keep away with the football. Their offense overall is 12th. Their defense is 19th. Our offense overall is 30th. Our defense 25th. So, but again, you kind of got to throw that out the window because that takes into account the first 5 games of the year under rule, the stinker versus the Rams. I don't know what happened against the Bengals. So all that stuff gets tossed into that gumbo pot. So that doesn't necessarily show exactly what the team is doing at this moment. Prediction time. This feels like one of those games we have no business winning.
Oh, and you'd be right.
Yeah. It also feels like one of those games where we look back on it 5:30 Sunday afternoon and we're like, we won that football game. Like, what did we do? Like, it feels like if the Panthers have to do certain things to win football games. We've kind of established that. If they can run the ball, control the clock, keep the ball out the quarterback's hand for the most part, they have a shot to win. Actually, you know what? We didn't even address this. We should have did this at the very beginning of the show. Why or where? When did PJ Walker hurt his ankle? Because now Baker Mayfield's the starter, and we all got up Monday and it was like Baker Mayfield's going to be the starter. PJ Walker's got a high ankle sprain, and I think we all collectively looked at each other and was like, when did that happen? Like, do you have any idea, Schuyler being in the building, when it went down?
PJ doesn't even know the exact play. He said he hasn't watched it. So I Bleav it was sometime in the third quarter, maybe fourth. He played on it. But it was weird how we didn't get an injury update or an injury report during the game that he had suffered an injury. Like even though he wasn't ever deemed really questionable, usually we would still know something, right? It was kind of weird that we didn't hear about that even on Friday. Like, because Friday, remember I told you when we were doing the recording, I think I even said it, like, it was weird how he said PJ was going to start, but that they were going to come back after talking to the quarterbacks, and on Monday they were going to give more clarity as to what they were going to do for the Baltimore game. I was like, that's weird. So maybe there was something going on Friday. Maybe his MRI was on Friday. I can't remember what day it was, and that's why it was kind of murky. But yeah, I don't know.
Because I don't know if it was like gamemanship with Wilkes and the coaching staff to not reveal it so that they're not giving away too much of the Ravens. But then you tell it at the beginning of the week, so that doesn't really matter. The Ravens are on a bye anyway. So I don't know. I thought it was odd. But then, of course, you've got the conspiracy theorists out there going, well, this is how they wanted to get Baker on the field. They didn't want to upset the PJ Walker fans. And let's just say he's got a high ankle sprain, or all the other quarterbacks have had one. They'll believe that. So
remember what I said, though. I mean, if Baker plays 70% of the snaps, that fifth round pick converts to a fourth. So
I had it in reverse. So like he has to play 70% for them to move it up to a fourth, right?
Yes. So if he plays 70% or more, it becomes a fourth round pick.
And that's why Baker Mayfield's starting right there. That literally.
No. That's the reason why everyone thought he wasn't starting, because they wanted to keep that a fifth round pick instead of a fourth.
Oh wait, that's ascending a fourth.
Ascending.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, I gotcha.
So right now it's a fifth round pick, and if he goes over that mark, then that becomes a fourth.
And he's close right now, isn't he? Isn't he like
it was 60 not long ago.
Yeah, so
I haven't checked it since.
I know Coach Wilkes mentioned that he'd like to see Sam Darnold in some capacity this Sunday. I kind of thought that too. Baker's gonna be the starter. Sam will be dressed as the backup. I'm not gonna lie, Panther fan base, don't throw anything at me. I kind of want to see Sam Darnold too. I want to see him in this offense that Steve Wilkes is overseeing, his shadow over top of
it. This offensive line.
Run, play action, run. Like, I want to see that. And I feel like out of all the quarterbacks we had, Sam had the most potential. Like, he checked all the boxes for, if you were going to build a quarterback in Madden or whatever, he'd probably kind of look like Sam Darnold to a certain extent. But he just got spooked a number of times. Two different teams. You, my boy Bleav, 3 different quarterbacks on this team have had high ankle sprains. You joined us late, buddy. All 4 have. All 4 have had high ankle sprains this year.
Actually,
Mouse didn't do it at Bank of America Stadium.
Corral was
or no, his was a
Lisfranc.
Yeah.
So but we do have four injured, 4 ankle sprains in Charlotte with Lamar.
My bad. You my boy Bleav. My bad. I jumped the gun on that. I apologize to you. You're absolutely right. We've had 3, and all 3 of those happen on Panther turf, right? Like at home.
Darnold was against Buffalo. But that one I don't think you could attribute to the turf, because he literally just got rolled on.
Yeah.
The Baker one probably could be. And PJ,
Whatever.
again, I don't know when the heck that happened.
Whatever happened with PJ, yeah. So Donald Duck comes in with, if Steve Wilkes wins the Denver Broncos game the following week, put him on top of the list for potential head coaching candidates. We're looking forward to that week, and that's coming up here soon. Is that next week? It's not Denver next week, is it?
Yeah, I believe so.
Ooh, so that'll be when Stu returns. If you're if you've never listened or watched this podcast before, in our Thursday Tell 'em Why You're Mad segment,
Beef stew with Denver.
Stu has picked Denver probably half the season. Like each week, it's been something that Denver did. That's been his Tell 'em Why You're Mad. So when we realized Denver was actually on the schedule and that we would be able to do that during our preview for Denver next week, our ears perked up. So I'd like to go into that with a win against Baltimore.
Well, Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen though. And since Stu's not here and he can't rag me about picking the opposite team here, I'm going Baltimore. Like it's too obvious, right? Like it was nice and all that they got that Thursday night win, and they're essentially 2 games out of first place, but like it was Atlanta. And are they more of what they showed against Cincinnati? Probably not. But it's probably somewhere in between that and what they did against Atlanta. Like,
is Jeremy Chin? What's the update on Jeremy Chin? Is he going to be able to play on Sunday? It sounded like they were holding him for this game.
We can't get a read on it. I asked Steve the last 2 days. Someone asked Al Holcomb today, and it's just kind of like a wait and see approach. So if he does play, I don't know if it's going to be to the full capacity that we're used to seeing him in. He might be on some sort of pitch count, but
okay. Because I was going to say we could use him.
Maybe I'm totally wrong, and he goes out there and plays 70 plays.
I thought Wilkes said in the press conference last week when they were asking about Chin's availability, he was saying it'd be asinine to throw him out there this week. I thought he said something like we were aiming for Baltimore or something like that, because that would give him 10 days to kind of get there on this little mini bye that they've got going on. To me, this game basically comes down to stopping Baltimore's run game. If we can hold Baltimore to 100 yards or less on the ground, I think we've got a shot. If we can get over 130 yards on the ground, I think we've got a shot. Jack agrees that he wants to see Darnold and Baker again, so no one can say, well, we didn't give him a chance in this Wilkes offense. We're about to see Baker Sunday. Again, like I said at the top of the show, when Baker came in the second half versus Cincinnati, I thought they were going to put him in the same offense. They reverted right back to whatever Baker knows well in the playbook, which is RPO, which drives me nuts. And
I'm gonna tell you why we mad. I
don't want to see that anymore. I don't want to see RPO Baker Mayfield. Like, please stop running it. It makes no sense. Ben McAdoo, what are you doing? Like, Steve Wilkes, yell at this man if he runs an RPO with Baker Mayfield. That's going to be the first play. It's literally going to be the first play for the Panthers offense. It's going to be RPO. It's going to be him and Chuba Hubbard or somebody out there, and he's going to run RPO, and we're all going to collectively throw up our hands like, what are you doing? Like, that's not what we've been doing the past 5 weeks. Why are you changing it? Because Baker Mayfield is in there.
Just wait until he does you one better and he calls a design QB draw.
It's coming. It's coming. I know it is. Panther country, let's ride. Somewhere Jonathan Stewart is smiling right now. He'll be back Monday, and I'm sure he'll have a lot to say about this game.
Don't tell him who I picked this week.
He probably already knows.
Hear the end of it. Yeah, he probably knows.
He probably is already aware. Great defense during 3-0. That was talking about last year. Some of the listeners and viewers talking about Sam Darnold in that 3-0 start before the line got decimated and Christian McCaffrey got hurt. I'm gonna pick Panthers just because why not? And I'm gonna go. I think the defense comes out to play. I'm going to say 24-16 Carolina.
I'm texting Stu right now, see if he can give us a quick score.
Yeah, because I'm sure that I just feel if the defense comes out to play, they dictate everything for the Panthers to me. So if the defense comes out on fire, hot, ready to go, that drips over to the offense. What we saw in Cincinnati was a flat defense, and that trickled over to the offense and everything else with the team. The defense is the heart of this team. It's the heartbeat of this team. So if the defense comes out to play, I think the offense will pick up on it. I hope the offense gets a little bit of a burst from Baker Mayfield being in there, because clearly the team, the players like Baker Mayfield, so that goes a long way. who knows? Maybe Baker has one of those crazy Baker Mayfield games where all of a sudden he's throwing for 300 yards, whatever. I don't know. I just don't know. I would like to do like you, my boy Blue, saying just hand the ball to Foreman and let him pound the rock up the middle 50 times. That's kind of been the offense. And I've had no problem. Yeah, I've had zero problems with that. Just give the ball to Foreman, let him run the rock, and go from there. We're gonna get out of here. I don't know if did Stu get us back in time. I know he said he was up in the mountains or something someplace, so his reception might be kind of
well,
weird.
It's actually my reception because Bank of America say we've got the best reception right here.
So, yeah,
I don't know. It's trying to send, but
we got to get David Tepper to put some access points like throughout the tunnels or something down in there. Help our
get some better phone service, some more heat.
Help our reporters out, man. And they're trying to help us out.
But if Stu will get back to me whenever this goes through, so we'll throw it in the description or something.
Yeah, we'll throw it in there. We'll be back Monday, our regular time, Monday 2:30, Monday afternoon, with a recap of this game. Stu will be back with us. We'll see what happens here. Like I said, the Panthers 2 games out of first. Tampa is 5-5. The entire division is at 500 or lower. The Panthers are 2 games out of first with 7 left to play. 7 games left to play in the season. So anything can happen. Remember 2014, we were in the same boat and somehow we're able to pull something crazy out. So let's see if we can do the same thing. Follow us on Twitter. With Schuyler, you can follow him on Twitter at Callihan _ to get the latest on Panthers, Hornets. I know LaMelo Ball just re-injured his ankle last night again, which might not be a bad thing. And then West Virginia sports as well. And then you can follow me on Twitter at DEZ _3505. Both of us and Stu will be back next Monday with a brand new episode. Follow the Bleav Podcast Network at Bleav on Twitter as well, where there is a podcast for all 32 teams in the NFL with the former player this year. So definitely we're your home for NFL podcasts here in the Sirius Satellite Network. So for Schuyler Callihan, I'm Desmond Johnson. You've been listening and watching the Bleav in Carolina Panthers podcast here on the Bleav Podcast Network, brought to you by Bet Online. Keep pounding.